This podcast is brought to you by Most Valuable Podcasts, saving your day from boredom with the best podcasting entertainment.
What's up, real MVPs? Ricky Widmer here, along with fellow man-child Johnny Karlic. And we're back. We're back after a week off. Johnny got the Asgardian flu. Like you told me when we were walking in, it would have just killed mere mortals like myself.
Yeah.
Like, it just would have killed me. My mind would have just crumbled.
It would have torn your mind and crumbled your body.
Yeah, that's exactly what it does. But it's glad to have you back. I'm glad you're feeling better.
Thank you.
We got a jam-packed show like usual, and we're making a sandwich like we usually do.
We love sandwiches.
We got the sandwich of topics. Before I get into everything that we're going to talk about, I got two things before. Well, one thing before housekeeping. Today's the Red Podcast. We're both wearing red shirts.
Oh, yeah.
I noticed that before we were recording. I looked at the camera and I'm like, oh, we're both in red shirts. We're both in sync for this podcast. But before we get into everything, a little bit of housekeeping. If you want to help support MVP, make sure to check out patreon.com/mostvaluablepodcast. You can also get, because we're wearing red shirts, we're not wearing the MVP t-shirt because it's black. But you can see that down below in the description or at mostvaluablepodcasts.com, where you can catch MVP each and every day. Then last but not least, you're on Apple Podcasts. If you're on iTunes, make sure to go over, give the Rick and Johnny podcast a 5-star rating, and then tell us why you like listening to the podcast each and every week. But Johnny, like I said, jam-packed show. We're talking about Marvel. Then we're going to go into a little bit of DC CW news. Then we're going to come back to Marvel. We're going to talk James Gunn and the whole Dave Bautista situation, if he could possibly leave Guardians of the Galaxy 3. Then we're going to look at the whole Batwoman Ruby Rose decision and a little bit of the backlash that people have been stupidly throwing her way online. And then we're going to go back into a little bit of a theory, one that you brought up about time travel in Avengers 4. And we're actually going to get a theory from the brain of Johnny Karlic today. Like, we're going to get one. This isn't going to be like, oh, well, we have a theory online. No. This is a theory that will be from the brain of Mr. Karlic on the other side of the table from J-Man. But let's dive into the James Gunn situation, because this gets more interesting each and every week. And I'm kind of glad that you were sick last week, because we got an update this past week that... So let's take you through the timeline. Last week, what we had is apparently Dave Bautista, who plays Drax, he threatened to quit Guardians 3 if Disney didn't rehire James Gunn, but didn't use his script. And the exact quote that we have here is, where I'm at right now is that if Marvel doesn't use that script, then I'm going to ask them to release me from my contract, cut me out, or recast me. I'd be doing James a disservice if I didn't. Then this week, we got the news that Disney was like, no, we're not going to rehire James Gunn as the director. It means they're going to move on. They're going to find somebody else. Where then Dave Bautista posted a tweet this week with a Screen Rant article that was basically their big article about why Disney not rehiring James Gunn is a big mistake for Marvel and beyond. He said, thanks at Disney, making America great again. American flag emoji. So Johnny, with everything that we have, with everything coming out with Dave Bautista and with him threatening to leave Guardians 3, I'm going to ask you this. With the wake of everything with James Gunn, will Bautista leave Guardians of the Galaxy 3? Will he leave the project?
You know what? With everything he's saying, he might, because I don't know what I'm rereading through some of this right now. Is unless I'm missing something. Did Disney still say they're gonna throw out his script?
That is the last thing that we heard on that. Is Marvel may scrap the script. They may scrap it, or they may change it. We don't know for sure. We won't know that until they bring in a new director. Until we have a new name on the project, we won't know. The last thing we have is that they may get rid of James Gunn's script.
The only issue with that is for Bautista, and maybe he doesn't care about this. There, I believe, is a possible fine or something that comes along with dropping out of a project. And if he's okay with paying that off, or if he can somehow get out of it, that's fine. He may actually go through with it then. But I want to just say it's probably a mistake on Disney to not only fire him to a degree. I mean, that's a mistake, but at least...
Especially if they're like, we're going to recast you. That would be basically them firing him.
No, I'm talking about James Gunn.
Oh, okay.
But to throw his script out, too, at least you have something of James Gunn. And you know the other two Guardians of the Galaxy worked out.
You know
very well. Not just worked out. They were phenomenal.
Yeah, and the only reason they would scrap the script is so they wouldn't have to put James Gunn's name anywhere on the project.
Yeah, but
because like if they used his script, they would still have to have like at the beginning or at the end
James Gunn
script written by James Gunn.
Yeah. Well, credit where credit is due, but the problem is, you see how well it worked. You see how great the first two movies were. You would want to keep that same idea with it, so why would you throw that out and not have that anymore?
Yeah, and I mean, the thing that this is interesting with is, because I've had conversations with numerous people just in our everyday life about it. Like my father, who's more of the just like, oh well, he's on the mindset of shouldn't have done it. If you didn't want this to hurt you in the future, you shouldn't have made tweets like that. Where I'm more of on the side of, it was a different phase in his life. Like he was more of that shock jock personality of, I want to go for shock humor with what he was doing.
Yeah.
But you have fans out there that have been enraged. Like, I'm not saying everyone is on one side of the fence here. There are fans that are outraged by this decision. There was a petition that was launched that, at the time of the Screen Rant article that I'm looking at, had over 370,000 signatures on it. And the thing that I love with this situation, I'm not going to love the fact if Dave Bautista leaves the Guardians 3 product, but I finally love that something like this happened, where there's one person, whether it be what I've brought up about the MLB, where MLB player brings up terrible tweets, but he tweeted it in high school when he was 16, 17 years old. And that baseball team, instead of saying, well, we respect what we're doing with whatever, I can't remember the player's name off the top of my head, but instead of saying, no, well, that was a different time, they were like, hey, we're going to send you to sensitivity training and you have to apologize for the team. And I was sitting there going, really? Like, I know that his tweets were god-awful and horrible, but, like, when does it become you're a kid and you got to learn from your mistakes? This isn't that, but I mean, I love that one of these actors has come up and kind of said, this is what we're going to do. And he actually accused Disney of caving to cyber Nazis, is the exact word that he used. And I can respect a guy like Dave Bautista for doing this when a guy like Chris Pratt, who's technically the lead of Guardians, is kind of doing the whole, I'm going to take a step back. I'm not going to go out on a ledge and say anything because I like my job and I don't want to lose it kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's kind of the what's the word I'm looking for? That's kind of the gist that I'm getting from it. That Dave Bautista's like, no, this is what I believe in. James is my guy. James is my friend. I'm going to stand up for him. And Chris Pratt is like, James is my friend, but I kind of like my job here, so I'm going to step back and kind of give a blanket statement that doesn't go too far out there and doesn't rock the boat per se.
Exactly. No, I give kudos to Bautista for doing something like that, because it takes a lot, especially when you're facing potential fines, like just not having that job,
or just not being in the movie.
Not being in the movie too. I mean, it's just those big things like that take a lot. But I give kudos to him for going through and saying that, and coming out and saying that, and saying, you know what, I'm not doing this if we're not at least using his script.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, again, we've hashed on this before, but Disney, you're in the wrong too. I mean, yeah, James Gunn, you were in the wrong for making those tweets in the first place. But the different part of your life, something that, what, 5 years before the Guardians started?
2009.
Yeah, but 5 years before the Guardians movie started?
2014 was the first Guardians, I believe. Yeah, so 5 years.
Yeah. So, I mean, everyone plays a little bit into this, both Disney and James Gunn. But, I mean, why would you, like, just like you're saying with those high school tweets, and now they're in the big leagues. Yeah. Why are you being punished for those? Really?
Like, that picture he's 24 now, I want to say.
Yeah.
And he was 17 at the time when he made those tweets.
That's a long time. That's what, 7 years?
Yeah. About
6, 7 years?
Yeah, 7 years, because it's 3 to 20 and then 4 to 24. But, like, and the thing that kind of sits in my mind, too, is, like, I'm going to go back to the Chris Pratt thing. And I'm not trying to make this, hey, Chris Pratt, you should be doing exactly what Bautista's doing. But it's funny when, like, even Bautista, I can't remember where I seen or heard this, but he even said, like, he's like, right when it happened, right when James Gunn got fired, Bautista went to Chris Pratt and was like, dude, we got to stand up for this. Like, this is not right. And he was like, well, you know, Chris Pratt's a religious guy, and he's like, well, I'm going to take time to pray on it and stuff. And for the longest time, Chris Pratt wasn't saying anything. And then the whole Guardians cast came out with their joint statement on things. But basically, Bautista, when he said that, was like, no, fuck that. We need to do something, and I'm going to say something. Like, I can respect that kind of a thought process, because this whole thing is a common trend, and it's not going to stop. And I've had conversations, I know, with Mark on different James Gunn things about this exact thing. And you can say, oh, it's the problem with social media, but now that we have a platform like Twitter, I'm just going to use because that's the easiest one, somebody gets offended by something, and then we get this mob mentality of, oh, let's all jump on this person. And, like, now it's gone to a fact so far of, hey, we're actually going to boycott your product. And it seems like the products, like Walmart, Disney, all these companies, they, instead of, like, I'm waiting for that first company, I guess you could say Adult Swim, kind of did it on a lesser degree. Yeah. I would have loved if Disney was like, fine, do it. I'm going to call you on your bluff. Yeah. I'm going to call you. Fine, boycott our product. Let's see how far that takes you.
No, really, I feel like Disney should have been the one to do that, because they have enough power behind them to to be honest, not fret about it.
And the Adult Swim, just for people that don't know, what I'm referencing there is Dan Harmon did this terrible thing when he was first starting up he made a pilot about like a Dexter spinoff where basically the main character goes back in time and rapes babies, but the babies are like bad guys, like serial killers and stuff. He's apologized for it. He said it was terrible. He's taken it off the internet, but if you know the internet, once you put it up there,
it's up there forever.
It's up there. Like, you can take it down, somebody has it. Somebody has it somewhere. But basically, Adult Swim, when people are like, oh, no, you should fire Dan Harmon, they're like, well, you know what? Dan Harmon is sorry for it. That's not how we want to project Adult Swim, but we're not firing him. We're not getting rid of him. Yeah. And that also is maybe Adult Swim going, hey, we just ordered how many episodes of Rick and Morty? And we got to make sure those get made. Yeah. We can't be firing Dan Harmon
not just that, I like the fact that they didn't just fire him for that. It's like, you know what? We don't condone his actions of that. He's apologized. We're not getting rid of him because guess what? He's not doing it anymore. Yeah.
And here's a question.
Go ahead. It's like, go ahead, boycott. Most of the people that watch this channel anyways don't care.
I'm going to throw this out there because I'm going to relate the Disney thing to that. Okay. Arguably right now, would you say Rick and Morty is Adult Swim's most popular product right now?
I would think it is.
Okay. So that to me is what I first thought of is, yeah, of course you're not going to fire Dan Harmon because you need Rick and Morty to be good because Rick and Morty right now is your bread and butter. How do you think Disney would react if, let's say it's not James Gunn? Because Guardians is a great movie series. Guardians is part of the MCU, but it's not the main bread and butter. It's not the main focal piece. How do you think Disney would have reacted if it was one of the Russos instead of James Gunn? Would it be different Because now we're talking about a director linked to the main product in the Avengers.
I don't know. I still think Disney, because it's
would
not
have caved.
I still think it would have caved because it seems like it's less about like what the person did, more of they're caving to societal rage at the moment.
The whole lynch mob coming
to
take James Gunn's job, basically.
Exactly.
In a sense.
Yeah, I think they still would have gone through with doing that just because of where the attack came from. It didn't come from like there was like you said, mob mentality. Lynch mob mentality was coming after it, and they're like, okay, well, we're gonna drop this so we don't get the backlash for it because we don't condone his actions. He's gone now.
Yeah.
Don't pull us down with it, please.
Like, hey, we did what you want. We did what you want. We're all good here. We're all good here.
We good? We good?
And like to go back on the mob mentality thing in a greater sense of it is the thing I hate most about it is not everyone looks at it like you and I. Like not everyone does the research to say, hey, you know, this guy, he tweeted it in 2009. Look at what he was doing. Like everyone sees those tweets. They already get an opinion in their head, and then they just go with it. Like, there's no actual, like, it's kind of like it goes around the same things, and I am similar to this, and I'm not saying, like, oh, I'm holier than thou, and I don't do this, but how many times do you scroll through, like, Facebook or something, see a headline, get a thought, and move on, and don't even click on the article to read it?
Sometimes, but I'm also like whatever.
There are some of those where it's like, oh, wow, that's bad. And then I just keep moving on. Instead of actually clicking the article, reading it, and finding out that the article headline had nothing to do with the actual article.
That's true. There's quite a few of those out there.
It was all just a misunderstanding.
Like, there's one where I'll go, oh, well, that's horrible.
Or like, wow, this person's a piece of shit, and then move on. Then later find out, oh, that article was either wrong or... At the end, they're like, well, it didn't really happen like this, and I guess he's not that bad. It's like, bitch, you're trying to get these clicks from me so that I'll look at your stuff. But
like there was one yesterday. It honestly happened to me just yesterday, and luckily it's a little bit different.
To where you didn't click on it, or you did?
No, I did. Okay. But it's a little bit different because so it said scientists make gorilla realize mortality.
Okay.
It's a little bit different. Like I said, it's a little bit different than what we're talking about. So I click on it, and it brings up the news article almost like a CNN style at first, and then I realize in the bottom corner it says The Onion. I'm like, oh, thank God.
That onion will get you.
Oh man, I'm like, that is because
you got to be careful for that onion.
Because we used repetition of green block, red block, blue block, green, and then we did gorilla born, gorilla grow up, gorilla die. I'm like, are you kidding me? This is absolutely awful. And then you got like I don't know, sign language. So they were like doing the interpretation of gorilla sad, gorilla existence is meaningless.
You gotta do this one. What we learned from Rampage means to poop. Yeah, you called me a big shit in sign language.
I said you look like big shit.
Yeah, I do. I do usually, so you're not far off.
No, but I'm just glad that I realized it was The Onion, but had I not clicked on that and had I not done
the research,
let's put it this way,
you would have just thought sometimes that was the real thing.
Sometimes you don't even look who put it up there.
Exactly.
You just see
you look at the headline.
You look at the headline. You don't see on Facebook is a perfect example. You scroll past the name, don't even pay attention who it was, and then you see that article. The
artist is little itty bitty gray.
No, I'm saying John Karlic posted this. Sometimes you don't even look at that. You just see that.
Yeah. Or you look at that and you then associate that article with that person. Yeah. Like you're a shitty person because you have posted this. But,
yeah. No, but I just want to say I'm glad that was The Onion and not real.
One of the last things I will bring up, though, is the thing with Dave Bautista and why he can do this is, first off, I don't even think this is part of the reason of why he's doing it. I just feel like, first, the main reason is he believes what he believes. Yeah. And he's standing up for it.
Again, I give him kudos for that.
But on the other side, it's easy for him to do it now, kind of play devil's advocate and be on each side.
True.
It's easy for him to do this now instead of before Guardians 1, because ever since he's been in Guardians, his career's kind of taken off to where he was in Blade Runner 2049, to where basically when we saw that movie before I fell asleep, I was like, holy shit, is that Bautista? And you're like, yeah, that's Bautista. I'm like, holy shit, man, he's in this movie. He's been in that movie. He was in Hotel Artemis. That came out recently. He was in The Escape Plan 2. He's going to be in Escape Plan 3. He's going to be in Master Z. He's got his own untitled project coming out in pre-production right now. So, I mean, he's not like huge A-list because he did have the WWE side, and that does help as well. But now he's more in the national light. It
brought it up a lot.
Yeah, it has. But, I mean, there's that part, too, where it's easy for him to say, hey, I'll quit if this doesn't happen, because they'll be well off because of what Guardians has already done for him at this point.
Exactly. I mean, the other Disney studios could, if they really want, like, just give a lot of backlash and one of those, well, you won't work around here again.
Yeah. But I mean...
But still, people are going to want to hire him because of who he is and the name that's out there now.
And I mean, I'm honestly looking at it. Since Guardians 1... Let's see, how many Disney things has he been in? I saw Guardians 1, Guardians 2, Infinity War, Guardians 3. Like, that's the only Disney stuff he's been in. So I don't think that's a real big thing. Very last thing I want to ask you about this, and this has nothing to do with... It has everything to do with James Gunn, nothing to do with what we just thought about. This is kind of a little tag that I was going to add on the end of it. I was reading an article recently where the headline said, Warner Brothers should recruit James Gunn for a DC movie. What do you think about that? Should DC say, screw it, we're going after him. Let's bring him in here to do a movie for us.
Honestly, this is a little bit vindictive, but yeah. Why not? You have a great director.
And hope it doesn't work out like the Joss Whedon thing did.
Yes.
Because that was horrible.
But my thing would be, I mean, give him his, like...
Let him do the Green Lantern movie.
Let him start on his own project. Don't bring him in on a mid project. Bring him in on a fresh project.
Like that he can come up with.
Yes, exactly.
I would say...
Green Lantern.
Green Lantern would be one because there's no script for that yet.
Yeah.
What about the New Gods movie that they want to do with all of like Darkseid and the New Gods? Yeah. They want to do Jack Kirby's New Gods. I mean, of course, that's me thinking, oh, let's bring him in for a space movie, but I would just say, hey, James, what kind of DC movie would you like to do?
Exactly. Let him bring him on. All I say is like, because part of the reason Josh Whedon didn't work out very well
was the Justice League. They shoehorned him into Justice League.
Exactly. They shoehorned him in. Bring him in on his own fresh project. And honestly, because at least then DC's like, hey, we have the balls to hire him still. Because it's not like these tweets should ruin his career. Yeah. This was way before. This is when he was doing, just to give you guys a reference, he was doing the movie Super.
Yeah, we brought that up last time.
We did last time. If they didn't watch the last one, I want to give them the idea.
I'm going to say this again.
Watch that movie and then see why he was doing those types of tweets.
That's like, I'll say this because I've said this many times before. Disney, they're two things. One, if you did do your research and found the tweets, it didn't affect you hiring them in 2014. So why does it magically affect his...
Well, I mean, Disney's nothing but magic.
Exactly. But like now magically it's like, oh, after 4 years, I don't know. I sat on those tweets and I don't like them. Or two, if you didn't find those tweets,
you didn't do
your due diligence. You just said, oh, James Gunn, here, come on for a job. But no, I think the DC, if they haven't already contacted James Gunn, they're stupid. And that's just me being just blatantly just blunt about it, because if I was DC or anyone up in DC, that phone is already off the hook. Hey James, want to do a movie for us? Want to come over and do a DC movie? Because we'll let you write the script. We'll let you do whatever
you want.
Exactly.
In these parameters.
It would only help them because right now the DC is trailing the Marvel movies. But before we move on into Batwoman stuff, any final thoughts that you want to throw in about James Gunn or Bautista?
Agreed about the DC thing. Kudos to Bautista for standing up for James Gunn. Mistakes have been made.
Mistakes have been made. I've made a few mistakes in my day. I've made a few. I know you've made...
I don't know about like this, though.
A few. No, nothing like that, but like I'm saying we all make mistakes.
Oh, we do.
are all human. But
exactly.
Well,
Sort
as
of.
Guardian on the other side of the table. But this is where you guys come in. Let us know what you think down below in the comment section. Like I say all the time, especially with these topics, but with all of them, it's a conversation. We've given what we think. I want to know what you guys think, so then we can join you in the comment section, bring your comments then into shows, and kind of keep this conversation going more so than just this video. Let me know and let Johnny know what you guys think down below in that comment section.